Exciting to see folks here, citizens here, and our candidates, and Hadley Media. We really appreciate them being here. Hadley Mothers Club mission is to serve Hadley by providing opportunities and support for our youth and members of our community. We're a not-for-profit organization started in 1944 for young mothers to gather socially, discuss subjects of common interest, and render public service. The group's first project was establishing a kindergarten class in 1945, with continued support by donating classroom materials in 1946. Since that time, Hadley Mothers Club has continued to support Hadley schools and the community through various funding, raising events, and programs such as Candidates Night. This year, I'm proud to announce that we are celebrating our 80th anniversary. We are planning a gathering of all members, past and present, to join us for a fun afternoon of bingo and refreshments in October. We have not set the date yet, but we will get a hold of all of you, past and present members. So for over 35 years, just before Hadley's town election, the Hadley Mothers Club sponsors Candidates Night. This event provides candidates for town office an opportunity to introduce themselves and present their platform and answer questions from citizens attending the forum. We expect this event to operate with decorum and respect. Rules of this event were sent to all candidates previously.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Excellent, thank you. The rules will be enforced by our moderator, and the decision of the moderator is final and not subject to debate. At this time, I would like to introduce our moderator, Scott Channel. 35-year veteran of the window and door industry, Scott is currently the GM and managing partner of National Vinyl, LLC. National is a vinyl window and door manufacturer serving the dealer and lumberyard markets throughout New England and Eastern New York. With a BS in Business Management from Western New England University, Scott is still active, mentoring a graduating senior through the Real Test program, whereby the future graduate goes through a real interview process and personal interactions, providing them with real-world experience in advance of graduating. Scott is a resident of Hatfield, Mass. And is married to his wonderful wife, Tracy. Together, they have 3 grown children. I'd like to introduce Scott.
Thank you, Denise. I couldn't have wrote that better myself. Thank you. So I also want to congratulate the Hadley Mothers Club because this is their 80th year. It's kind of an amazing accomplishment. So how we will start the evening is with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if we could all stand and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, now I will introduce the candidates who will be speaking this evening. So for Select Board, you will be voting for 2. They are going for a 3-year term. To my right, I have Amy Parsons. I have Kyle Patrick Dragon and David J. Phil II. And to my left, for the Board of Health, we have Margaret Mastrangelo. We have for the planning, and that is for you're voting for 1, and that is for a 3-year term. The planning board, of which you vote for 1, is a 5-year term, and that is Mark T. Dunn. For school committee, you need to vote for 2, and that is for a 3-year term. You have Humera Fassi Houdin and Paul Pfeiffer. Very good. All right. So we have the list, and what we're going to do is we're going to start from the right, and we're going to go in order with Amy, Kyle, and David, and then we'll go to the left. And so each one is allotted 5 minutes speech and for each candidate, and we'll begin with Amy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. First, I wanted to start out with thanking the Hadley Mothers Club for putting on this event for us this evening. My name is Amy, I guess I'll say Marguerite Parsons, since my 2 other candidates also had their middle names spoken. I'm currently the chairwoman of the Select Board. I am running again. I didn't prepare a speech. I didn't really know what to say, other than I am a 13th generation farmer in town. My family has been here many years. I first wanted to run for Select Board because I thought as a younger member of town, I wanted to raise my family here, and I wanted to be an integral part of decisions being made for not just my future, but my children and my grandchildren. So I did get elected 3 years ago. I would love to get elected again. Something about me is I don't have any special agendas. I'm not part of any special groups. I'm not interested in, looking out for, I'm interested in looking out for the town as a whole and making sure that we're able to progress into a bright future. So that's just a little bit about me, and I look forward to being reelected. Thank you.
Kyle?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, and also thank you to the Mothers Club for hosting this event to allow us to be able to speak to you, the voters. My name is Kyle Dragon. Is this better? Oh. Is this better? Yeah. Okay, perfect. My name is Kyle Dragon. I know some people here. I don't know some people here, which I hope that I get the opportunity to meet more of you. I, unfortunately, am not a 13th generation farmer here. I came here a little over 10 years ago when I met my wife, and she's been here all her life. But I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to help the residents of Hadley continue moving Hadley in a good direction. The last few years, the Select Board's done an amazing job between affordable housing, open space, and those are things that are really dear to me. I want new residents to be able to come into this wonderful town. I want people to be able to afford to live here in this town. And I want to be able to preserve our farmland. It's really what makes Hadley so unique compared to our surrounding towns. And with that, we have to be able to find that perfect balance to be able to do those. So I can bring a lot of perspective with my personal full-time job. I work with many different municipalities. I get to see what works in other towns, what doesn't work in other towns. And I hope you as the voters will give me that opportunity to come here and help bring Hadley further as we continue our move into the future. Thank you.
David?
Good evening. My name is David Phil. I'm running for Select Board. I'd like to thank the Mothers Club for sponsoring this Candidates Night event. Just some quick background for those that don't know me. I was born and raised on Middle Street, attended Hadley schools, and after graduating from Hopkins Academy, served for over 10 years in the United States Air Force. For the last 18 years in federal law enforcement, and during that time, I earned a Bachelor of Science in Government Politics and Policy, an MBA with a project management concentration, and started 3 successful businesses. My wife Brandy and I have 3 children, Audra who is 10, David who is 9, and Cora who is 6, all of whom attend Hadley schools. I have 4 years of previous experience on the Select Board, 2 years on capital planning, and 2 years on Finance Committee. I work hard to hold people accountable, both in town and in business, whether they are employees, contractors, state agencies, or even surrounding towns. Working with the building inspector and the DPW while on the Select Board, I held the contractors for the Senior Center, Library, and North Hadley Station accountable for their work and ensured that the buildings were finished correctly and to industry standard. We as taxpayers should get what we pay for when it comes to these projects. We have some large capital projects on the horizon, such as a new DPW facility, Russell School, Hopkins Academy remodel. My experience and management expertise will be critical to ensure that the taxpayers get the best bang for the buck and projects are completed correctly and in the best interest of the town. Hadley has a long history of kicking the can down the road on important decisions. 2 things that we absolutely excel at are procrastination and endless studies. Russell School needs a definitive solution, not more studies and shrugging our shoulders as the building continues to deteriorate. Back when I was on the board, I had started the process of water testing to bring the Mount Warner wells back online. That project has been at a standstill ever since. A second water source is critical for our town, not only for water quality, but also to reduce summer water restrictions. I started the process of collaboration on sharing water and sewer services with Amherst so we could send our wastewater to them for treatment at a cheaper cost than what we can treat it for here in town, as well as an agreement to sell Amherst water when their needs spiked. Both of those projects have not made much progress since I left the board. There's certainly a need to investigate the possibilities of a project before we jump in head first, but delays and inaction are costly, not only to our budget, but when it comes to infrastructure, growth, and resiliency of our town. These and the future of housing and Route 9 are just a few examples of the many projects I would like to prioritize. We have some really fantastic and dedicated employees and committee members and volunteers in town. I would encourage you to ask these department heads in Town Hall, Police, Fire, DPW about my management style and how we collaborated to get things done and move the town forward. Most people don't have time to watch endless hours of meetings each week, but through sharing easily accessible and unbiased information, the town can do a lot better job informing the voters what's happening each and every week. I have a proven track record as a problem solver and someone who uses creative thinking to get things done. I'm willing to listen to alternative viewpoints, and we may not always agree, but I'll give you a fair chance to make your argument, and I'm happy to provide my rationale on why I hold a different viewpoint if that happens to be the case. Favoring a specific department or pet projects is not in the best interest of the townspeople. As select board members, we work for everyone, not just a particular segment of the population. Town government should not be about personal agendas, but rather what is best for the town of Hadley. I've made it a point to always campaign cleanly by outlining what I can bring to the table rather than bashing other candidates, and it's something that I will continue to do. The reality is, in town government, there shouldn't be political parties or ideologies. In the end, my goal is to do what's best for our town as a whole. Let's start getting things actually done. Thank you again to the Mothers Club, and thank you all for your time this evening. I hope to earn your vote on Tuesday, May 21st. Thank you.
How's that? No? Okay. How are we doing on volume? Other than I can raise my voice, but I'm not the one talking tonight. No? Hello?
Does this
Is that
work
any
better?
Yeah.
Alex, should I pass this mic over?
Oh,
And maybe you hold it,
Yeah.
or maybe you hold that one?
yeah. Can you hear me on this one?
Is it on?
How about now?
Not,
No.
not great. This is better.
Yes, I like that one. How's that? Better? Good. All right. So for the Board of Health, we have Margaret.
Thank you. And thank you to the Hadley Mothers Club for sponsoring this evening. I am Margaret Mastrangelo, and I am running for a second term for the Board of Health. I am a certified family nurse practitioner, and I currently work in hospice. Prior to that, I worked in a busy internal medicine practice where I also ran the quality assurance department. So I come with some experience, certainly in background in health. During my time with the Board of Health team, we have accomplished many things, 3 of which I'd like to outline for you. The first was the hiring of a full-time health director with the support of our town manager and select board. This was the most significant change for us within the last 3 years. We have been able to achieve certain goals as a result. Ben Lipman, our director, makes sure that we are in compliance with the Massachusetts Department of Public Health regulations. He is certified to conduct food inspections, septic inspections, and soil evaluation. In addition to that, Ben serves on various town committees to address issues such as hoarding or abandoned property. The Board of Health has sought to improve outreach, and Ben has done this by offering training and informational sessions to local businesses which have been well attended. One of our goals was to initiate an internship program with the university, and Ben now oversees this. This will help us with projects without adding time or expense to our current budget. Over the next year, the board has budgeted for Ben to receive additional credentialing that will minimize, if not eliminate, the need to pay for outsourcing. Overall, Ben has been a tremendous asset to our community. The second important accomplishment has been the computerizing of our permitting process. Businesses seeking permits from us can now apply online. It's easy for them, and it helps us keep track of and correspond directly with them. This efficiency benefits both the town and business owners and facilitates revenue gathering. Aside from our permitting process, all operating procedures that fall under our jurisdiction are available online as they are renewed and reevaluated. This ensures transparency and consistency with all regulations, policies, and applications. Instrumental in helping us computerize our department was Peter Laurie, our administrative assistant. Those of you who know him know that he brings to the Board of Health years of business consulting and management experience to ensure that our office runs efficiently and smoothly. Finally, there are 3 other notable mentions that occurred in these last few years. A free book exchange shed now operates at the transfer station. It is dedicated to Greg Mish, who tirelessly served this community for over 30 years. The shed is staffed by our own chair, Dr. Susan Mosler, and volunteers Jean and Earl Shumway, to whom we are extremely grateful. We have a new town nurse, Marcy Fleming, who brings years of experience and is available to perform multiple services to residents from her office in the senior center. And finally, I'd like to mention the ongoing engagement we have with the Hampshire Public Shared Services. Public Health Shared Services. This is a state-funded project which allows us to access additional resources such as inspection support, public health nursing, training sessions, and supplies, all at no cost to us. In conclusion, I would like to express my gratitude and good fortune to work with an extremely talented and professional team who serve with me, Dr. Susan Mosler and E. Dragon. They truly care for the health and well-being of our community. Dr. Mosler has chaired the board for the last several years. Her leadership guided this community through the very difficult years of the pandemic, and she continues to provide invaluable knowledge, inspiration, and direction. Dragon, our policy wonk, is a registered nurse and has a graduate degree in emergency management, and she brings a wealth of knowledge about policy, procedures, and community health. It would be a privilege to continue to work with all of the dedicated individuals mentioned. I hope with your vote you will allow me to serve for another 3 years. Thank you.
Okay, for the planning board, Mark?
Good evening. I am Mark Dunn. I'll start again by thanking the Hadley Mothers Club and a belated Happy Mother's Day to everyone who's a mother. Right next to the mic. Okay. I was first elected. Well, let me back up. So I studied to be an architect. Graduated in '85. Moved from. Well, we don't need to know my New Jersey roots, but I found myself in Western Massachusetts in 1987, I think, and I came to Hadley in 1997. So I had not been involved in town government. I got involved when I ran a write-in campaign 5 years ago. Wasn't sure what I was getting into, but I figured that my architectural degree and 30 years of experience would inform that. And I think I've also brought a calming energy to the planning board that we haven't had any contention since I've been on there. We have, if you're not aware, we are basically volunteer. We're not like Northampton or Amherst that have full-time staff. We finally have we have Kaylee, who is a clerk for us and other. So we tend to be more reactive than proactive because we have other jobs and we only have the time that we give to address the issues. But I'm proud of what we have done. I think that we have been working with the Pioneer Valley Planning Commission to revise our bylaws that were written mostly around the time I was born, back in the 60s. And so times have changed, and as you know, we had to adapt them for recreational marijuana, medical marijuana. Most recently, we've had to write them to protect our best interests from the new craze of energy storage, and try to protect everyone's best interests and keep us out of the sights of the state's attorney general if we're too prohibitive. And I think the last thing I'll say is that we're not going to make everyone happy. We got some unwanted attention in the newspaper that someone from Amherst was not happy with our having approved a storage building here over by the silos. And they wrote as though we had the ability to decline it when it was an approved use within its area. So things are not always as simple as they seem, but we're trying to do our best, and I would like to I'd like to serve 5 more years to keep the town moving forward in the best direction for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, for the school committee, we'll start with Humira.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you also to the Mothers Club for creating this forum and for sponsoring the school's automated phone and email messaging system. That was a game changer. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Humira Fasihuddin, and I've lived in Hadley for 30 years. I have 3 children who graduated, one who graduated during the pandemic, another who's about to graduate this month, and a third who is likely stepping off the baseball field in Northfield with the Hopkins varsity baseball team. By day, I work for Stanford University in California, running a global program to improve higher education. 12 years ago, when I first ran for school committee, I did so with a vision. A vision not just for the schools, but for the very fabric of our community. Today, as I stand before you seeking re-election for a 5th term, that vision remains unwavering, fortified by the progress we've achieved together. When I first raised my hand to serve, I did so with a commitment to broader engagement, to transparency, and to opportunity for all students. And together, we've turned that commitment into action. Over the years, we've made strides in transforming our schools to beacons of innovation and excellence, from pioneering STEM initiatives to securing grant funding, over $1 million in grant funding just in last year's budget alone. We've worked tirelessly to equip our students with skills and opportunities they need to thrive in this ever-evolving world. Since I was last elected into office, our community has seen remarkable progress. Our one-to-one program, which is kind of like a 1 laptop per child initiative, not only instilled computer fluency with students and faculty, but also allowed us to continue education during the pandemic when many schools around us were closed. Our early college program at Greenfield Community College has empowered students to pursue advanced coursework and graduate early for free. And our Innovation Pathways program has opened doors to internships and real-world experiences in fields like business and finance, clean energy, life and environmental sciences, and computer science. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Superintendent McKenzie, my fellow school committee members, Hadley's amazing educators, our hardworking students, the volunteerism of parents, the philanthropic support of our community. It is truly a team effort, but our work is far from done. As we look at the future, we have ambitious plans to continue our momentum and build on our success. We're advancing coursework tracks in computer science and engineering to ensure that our students remain on the technological forefront. Artificial intelligence, for example, is here to stay. Our students need to be prepared for what that means for their careers. We're exploring opportunities in geothermal and solar energy, getting federal incentives to reduce our costs and to reduce our carbon footprint. We're renovating our fields, our facilities, our playgrounds, ensuring that every child has access to safe, modern learning environments. And as we stand at this precipice of our future, it's important that we not only address the immediate needs of our own community, but also the broader fiscal challenges facing our state. While we've made remarkable strides, we cannot ignore the pressing realities that demand our advocacy and action. The current state funding landscape, with its nominal adjustment for inflation, 1%, falls well short of what we're actually all experiencing for inflation. Moreover, the funding formula for Chapter 70 that brings us money from the state, it's woefully inadequate, and it doesn't take into account special ed tuition, out-of-district placements, charter school tuition, and declining enrollment, which is something that all schools around the state are facing. So it's incumbent upon us to advocate for our fair share and truly reflect what truly reflects the cost of education today. So together we have the power to shape that future, not just for ourselves, but also for generations to come. And so as we embark on this journey together once more, I humbly ask for your support, your trust, and your partnership. Thank you, Hadley, for the privilege of serving and for the opportunity to continue our journey forward together.
Okay, and for school committee, we also have Paul.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks to the Hadley Mothers Club. Especially thanks to Denise for reminding me several times to attend. I appreciate that. Thanks, Alex and Nick, for the Hadley Media. I'm Paul Pfeiffer. I'm seeking a fourth term with the Hadley School Committee. And to be honest, a year ago, I would have said I would never have sought a fourth term. I do not have a child in the Hadley school system. My son, Addison, graduated 2021. And in fact, I'm soon to not have a child in any local school system. My son, Elliot's about to graduate from Amherst. But there's two reasons why I ask for your support for a fourth term. One of which is all the good energy that Humira did such a great job capturing. This is a wonderful place. And in fact, yes, enrollment is declining across the state in parts, and especially in Western Mass. But year over year, from 2023 to 2024 to 2025, our enrollment's increasing 5%. The rest of the communities are realizing all the positive energy that's happening around here, and they're coming here. A lot of that is school choice. And a lot of that is due to the wonderful school committee. Honestly, I wouldn't be seeking another term if I didn't appreciate my fellow school committee members. Dr. Annie McKenzie, we're very lucky to have her as our superintendent. Principals Dowd and Camuso, all the faculty, the special education teachers, the students. There's just a lot of great positive energy around here. And it's not just relying on the past. It's looking to the future, those innovation pathways, those new programs that Humira described. Folks are seeing those and seeing those opportunities. And I should note, one thing Humira didn't mention is all this is done under the umbrella of fiscal responsibility. On average, the town spends about 37% of its budget towards the school department. It's very generous. It's more than is required by state law, consistently very generous. Yet other towns around us, most other towns are in the 40s and even low 50s% of their school budget. We're very fiscally responsible. Year over year, from last year to this year, we asked the town for a 1.88% increase, which it approved recently, so thank you. Other towns are seeking 4, 5, 8% increases while having layoffs. That's a stable budget for us. That's a strong sell to neighboring people who looking for that kind of thing within to send their kids to. But it's also, shout out to the principal and the superintendent and all the faculty. So the second reason, not just building on that positive momentum, there's work to be done. I led the effort years ago to put air conditioners in the elementary school, something that wasn't needed 25 years ago, 30 years ago. But as my student who benefited from that would tell me, was very pleased to have those. I'm also have led the effort for the first phase of the athletic fields renovation and the second phase, and I promise you it will eventually be finished. If you look out there now, it looks wonderful, it's beautiful, and tomorrow, if you're around, the boys varsity are gonna have their it's a soft opening, but they're gonna have their first game of the season tomorrow at 4 p.m. We're going to have a little opening, a little ribbon cutting ceremony. We'll do something more formal in September, but if you're around 4 o'clock, I invite you to come attend. And as folks have mentioned, there's more to be done, right? We've got the playground at the elementary school. We've got both locker rooms, boys and girls, to be renovated, and the HVAC system. This 1950s, 1960s HVAC system needs to be renovated rather than put oil in, as Humira mentioned. There's so much federal and state money to move this building into the next century. We'd be fiscally irresponsible not to look at it and consider putting renewable energy here that'll be eventually cost-free and providing heating and cooling for the entire building. So my goal over the next 3 years, if I were to be reelected, would be to see these projects through and help build this positive momentum we're seeing. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much to the candidates for your words, and we're going to take a short break. We're going to review the questions, and then we will come back in maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Oh. Also, I was asked to remind all of those that did put questions in there to please put your name and address on those questions so that we know who they came from. Thank you. No, he switched it out, so supposedly you're going to be able to hear me on this one, so hopefully that's the case. I'm going to be right there eating it, so we're good. Okay, so we are going to go with the questions. We're going to start with the select board. And this first question, I believe each candidate will have 3 minutes to speak on that. And we'll have, you can go first with the question. Yes, there we go. So to the select board, what skills, expertise, and interests will you bring to the office?
So I already have 3 years of experience on the select board. My degree is in business. Some people don't like to hear this, but I think that at some point you do need to run the town like a business, realize good investments, realize poor investments, and understanding that investments just isn't money, it's also people. So that's what I bring. I also have, like I said, a background in farming, but it also means I'm a hard worker and I'm not afraid of a challenge.
What I would bring to the select board is many years of working for municipalities. I've worked for different municipalities since 2003. I have a degree in business management, and when I put my mind to something, I vote my conscience, regardless of what it is. And if I'm not going to see eye to eye with everyone, people may not see eye to eye with me, but I let people say their piece. I hear what people have to say, and then we make a decision for what's best going to be best for the town. And that's really what it's going to come down to, is what's going to be best for the town moving forward.
So I have college degrees that play into this, but more important than that is I have experience actually managing and leading people and managing large logistical operations and projects, which really the town of Hadley is. It's basically a business to a degree that supports 5,000 plus people on a daily basis. And just like some of the school committee members mentioned, fiscal responsibility is important, because having a stable budget, being able to afford fire trucks and being able to afford DPW facilities and being able to actually hire people to make the government better and more efficient is important. And in order to do those things, we need to be smart in our spending decisions. Unfortunately, everyone's got a wish list. We're never going to be able to meet everything on that wish list. So triaging what is best for the town of Hadley as a whole is what needs to be done. It's not going to make everybody happy. That's just the reality of town government. We don't have an unlimited budget. We're limited to Proposition 2.5 and what taxes can go up every year. And so being smart and managing people and managing projects more like a business is critical for the success of the town.
Pass it to Kyle, please. Well, I started the first question with Amy. We'll start the second with Kyle. So what do you hope to change from the current direction of the select board?
So the select board as a whole, over the last few years, has been moving in a great direction. That direction, I'm not sure needs a change. It needs to be vitalized to continue in the direction that it's going in now. Whether that be the continuing of finding the balance between preserving our farmland, our open space, our affordable housing, keeping Hadley vitalized. That's the direction the select board needs to go in, and that's the direction that I hope I can help the select board continue in.
One of the biggest things I would change is information sharing. When I was on the board in the past, there was a better flow of information on a daily basis to townspeople. Granted, when you have better flow of information, that causes debate, and sometimes lively debate, but that's a good thing. Like I said, you're not always going to agree with me, and I'm not always going to be right, but getting that information out there is critical. The reality is now the select board, they do a lot of work, but the vast majority of townspeople, unless they have hours to sit and watch the YouTube recordings of meetings, don't really know what the select board's doing. They don't know what the planning board's doing. They don't know what a lot of these committees and organizations are doing in town. And yes, there are meeting minutes that are required by law, but they are so brief and so general, nobody really has a clue what they mean unless they are really just involved in town politics. So I think information sharing needs to improve drastically so the average person who just might pop in and say, oh, I want to know what's going on at this meeting, can figure out what exactly is going on without wasting hours of their time on a meeting that may not be relevant to them. So that would be my biggest change for the select board, is communication with residents.
So, having been on the board for 3 years, one thing I will say is that I think that the agendas are a lot more, they're beefier, and I think that the townspeople are able to see a little bit more of what we do. But to another candidate's point, I think that we need to move in a direction as well where the townspeople are informed a little bit more about what's going on, and it's, there's a lot of, verbiage and jargon that most people don't understand that I think we should be putting into terms for everyone to understand. The other thing is, I think it's important for boards to have a lot of different types of people on it. I think that that's something that's really important to not just have political discord, but also be able to understand and see different people's points of views. I think that when you have too many like-minded people that are running a town, that you don't really see all sides of any issue or anything that's going on. So I think when you have a lot of people, 5 different people with varying skill sets, with varying experiences, that you're able to have a big box, outside the box, well-rounded view of everything. And so that's something, whether or not that's what we have now, I can't really speak to that, but I will say that that's something, if someone asked me what a perfect select board was, that's what it would be.
Okay, the next question is also for the select board, is all the towns around us are cutting positions, especially school, and still having tax increase. When will Hadley increase taxes, in parentheses, a 2.5 override?
So Hadley has a long tradition of being a little bit more fiscally responsible than our surrounding towns, and that's something that we need to continue to do. I was on the board through the pandemic. We didn't have to lay off people. There were other towns in the areas that had to lay off people. There were other towns that had to make drastic budget cuts. We made things work. We continued to provide all of the services, and in some cases, our police and fire provided more services than ever before to our residents during a time when there was a heck of a lot less money coming in from meals tax and room tax and things like that. Yes, taxes go up every year. It's just a reality of life, just like the cost of groceries and everything else go up every year. It's something that can't be avoided. But again, that comes back to fiscal responsibility, making the best choices to preserve our services, enhance our services, and be more efficient with the money that we do have. As far as layoffs, I've been on finance committee the last 2 years. I don't see any need for layoffs. There's always room for efficiency. There's always room for improving how we spend our money. But as far as layoffs, Hadley's not in that position. We have a AAA bond rating. We do everything that is right to be fiscally responsible in this town. And then as far as, I guess the question was, when are we going to have a Prop 2.5 override to increase his taxes above and beyond the 2.5% that they go up? I don't feel that there's a need for that anytime soon. We can work with what we have and continue to incrementally improve. As I mentioned, there's a huge wish list, and if we want to knock out a big portion of that wish list, yes, they're going to have to go up dramatically, but that's not what's best for people in town living on a fixed income. So, incremental approaches and continuous improvements is what's critical.
So one thing that I will say, and I will stand on that hill until the day I die, we are not Amherst and we are not Northampton, and please do not attempt to, one, make us like them, or two, try to compare us to them, because they are on a much different level than we are. As for layoffs, again, I don't see that. As for Proposition 2.5, I don't see that. If anyone here did end up coming to town meeting, you would see the amazing job that our finance committee has done, the amazing job that our town hall employees have done. Linda Sanderson also explained at town meeting that it just so happened that there are some bonds and loans that are coming off just as the time is that we need new things to come on. So again, a lot of the new stuff that's happening isn't affecting our tax dollars at all, because things are coming off as we're putting new things on, and they just happen to match one for one as what we're needing. So, yeah.
To echo another candidate's statement, I don't see a need for layoffs within our school department. We have an amazing school department. Can you hear me better now? Okay, perfect. We have an amazing school department. I don't see the need for layoffs. The town of Hadley does have a track record of being very fiscally responsible with our finances. And as long as we continue being fiscally responsible and doing what is best for Hadley fiscally, I don't see why we should have to worry about layoffs to our school department. As for the 2.5 override, as mentioned, Linda Sanderson, our finance committee, they did an amazing job putting together the multi-million-dollar bid that went out during town meeting that was approved by the town meeting voters for the upcoming things without raising our tax rate. I do know that on the ballot there is a question for 2.5, and that might be where this is stemming from, for the purchase of the fire truck, but that is not affecting our tax rate by purchasing that at this time.
So let's see, who started that one? That was, you started, okay, so it's your lucky one. So you guys got the jackpot of 4 questions. So last question for the select board. Do you support the concept of building more housing near or around commercial areas?
No. But if you look at the map of Hadley, you'll see most of the land here is actually ag-res. But no, I don't believe in placing housing in the commercial area. I think that when you think of commercial area, everyone thinks about Route 9. I don't think that that's a place for housing at all. There's already enough traffic. There's already enough, I don't want to say issues, but there's, enough traffic that go through there. And I wouldn't want to subject families or anybody to be living there, to be walking there, to be playing there, to be having school buses stop there. I just don't think it's an appropriate place. Now, do I believe that housing should be placed on farmland? No. So again, it's a double-edged sword. Again, I'm willing to listen to ideas. I'm willing to listen to propositions. But as for commercial and housing, no.
So as mentioned, it's a double-edged sword between, we could put housing on in the industrial area. We could put it on farmland. Unfortunately, Hadley needs to find that perfect balance between the two. And it really comes down to, you could put it on Route 9. There are some housing projects going up on Route 9. And bringing the residents in is what's going to help vitalize Hadley. But bringing the businesses in also helps vitalize Hadley. So that's where we have to find the balance between building the residential units in the industrial area, which would be subtracting that area from a business that might be able to come in, compared to putting it on an ag res area, agricultural residential, which would then also potentially impact our open space and our farmland. So I can't say that I'm 100% for it, but I can't say that I would be against it either. It would have to hear the full side from all the involved parties and then find that perfect balance that would best suit all the involved constituents.
So one of the things we're known for best is our preserved farmland and how much farmland we have preserved. The downside to that is that's a place where houses can't go. But I wouldn't change that. I'd much prefer the preserved farmland. With that being said, that limits us on where we can have new houses, where we can have new growth. And one of the things that save us financially year after year after year is new growth, whether that's from meals tax, rooms taxed, new construction, whatever. You can drive up and down Route 9. There's not a whole lot more room to put things there, right? And when things close, they generally are replaced fairly quickly by something new. I actually do support the concept of mixed-use housing on Route 9. And when I say that, I support, there's areas like the mall, for example, that would be in other places I've visited and traveled, that there is apartment-style living or townhouse-style living mixed in with shops and houses and things like that. I think that's a fantastic place to think about putting that in. It's right on public transportation lines. It's easy access. It's close enough to UMass. It's close enough to other places that people need to travel for work. But before we do all that, going back to what I said in my speech that apparently the volume wasn't loud enough, the water and sewer issues and the infrastructure issues are a bigger issue that needs to be tackled. There's been times that we've been at close to capacity for our sewage treatment plant in town, which means that if we add 50 or 100 new apartments in there, are we going to be hitting that cap where then we have to invest another $20 million in replacing our wastewater treatment plant? Water capacity, roads, there's a lot that goes into this, and so it needs to be done intelligently, and it needs to be done in a way that preserves what we love about Hadley, which is our rural town feel. And putting high-density housing or apartments and that sort of stuff all over town is not the right solution for it, in my opinion, for the townspeople. But there are some options on Route 9 that I think could work very well and still preserve what Hadley represents. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to the Board of Health with the one question that they do have, and I'll give that to you, Margaret.
Thank you.
So the question is, why do residents have to pay a $10 server charge when we don't have town server? Oh, I'm sorry, sewer charge when we don't have a town sewer?
I don't know the answer to that. And I guess I would hand that over to the select board or the finance committee. I don't have an answer.
Okay. Is there anyone here that would like to tackle that? Okay.
So it's, Amy, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not exactly a sewage charge that's on your water bill. It's an infrastructure fee that's divided amongst water and sewer users. And Randy can probably correct me if I'm wrong on this. But the idea was, when the select board actually put it in place, it wasn't the Board of Health, as far as I know. Town sewer is what keeps Route 9 alive, right? And town water. So although you may not have town sewer at your house, I don't. I have a septic system that I have to maintain myself. But by you chipping in that $10, you're helping to maintain the town infrastructure that keeps our business district alive, which helps keeps our tax rate low and bring in revenue so we can afford to spend money on the things that we need as a town. So it's not necessarily a sewage fee, but it's, I don't know the ratio, but it's divided between water and sewer. I believe it's titled infrastructure fee on your bill. So.
Okay, we're going to move on to the planning board. Mark, you get 2 questions. I'll hand you the mic. So the first question is, how do we get affordable housing and keep it from being snapped up 64 students? What's that? Oh, by students. Thank you. I was like, okay.
Well, that is a good question. If you've listened to any of our planning board meetings, you've heard UMass referred to as the blob. You've heard about the student stuffers. It is certainly something that we are aware of. And if it were my choice, I would like to see, my first priority would be affordable senior housing, because if you've grown up in town and you want to downsize, I don't know if you've looked at what the current prices are, but this might not be the town that you can retire in and downsize to. So, we're looking at and thinking about the things that what was written into our code 40 years ago about single house on a single parcel to protect the nature of our community. We're now looking. I'm now on a committee that's looking at if there's a place in town to promote and guide affordable housing. And affordable housing is, there's a capital A, that's what the state considers affordable housing, and then there's the lowercase a, and that's what you and me and what we can afford, not what the state guidelines. And these are things that are important to us, and we do talk about, and we are, this committee that we're working on this year, the smart growth, we are looking at Route 9. Are there places where we could put, I'd like to designate it as senior housing, because then you don't necessarily have the impacts that a lot of people think, more housing will cause our schools to overflow, which actually we're hearing isn't a problem currently. But I think that, as we talked about, or as was previously mentioned, Route 9 has some places where we could infill. But this is all something that we're looking at. We have a committee of 6 or 7, and we hope to come back at the end of the year with something that can be considered at next town meeting to see if there's some options to encourage but limit where extra development and housing could be.
You can keep that. Okay, so the second question, which kind of dovetails into what you just talked about, is how likely do you think it is that we can develop more housing for those needing smaller units at a moderate price?
Yeah. If there was a easy solution, you would have already seen it. I think we have one possible solution or something to help with that is the Econo Lodge, which was originally, that application was declined by the 3-member ZBA and then overturned by the state. I think that's an opportunity where one of the things that I've already heard talked about tonight is it's not building new housing on farmland. It's taking an existing building that's underutilized, the Econo Lodge that was not thriving, and who's already got the sewer connections, so it's not going to tax the town there, and putting very affordable units for people who are downsizing. I think they're going to have a mix of single bedroom and family units, and it's on mass transportation. And so I think that's a step in the right direction. And again, this is a hot topic that we are looking at right now. So hopefully I will be on the board next year to answer those questions.
Great, thank you. Pass that to Himara. Thank you. Okay, so we have 2 questions for the school committee. We will start with Himara. The first one is, how does school choice benefit Hadley?
The most important thing about school choice is that it brings in dollars to Hadley. It helps, it augments our operational budget. We get funding for every student coming in, and that adds up to quite a sum of funding. It also helps add a richness and a diversity when students from other communities come to Hadley. So I would say those are the 2 biggest things. We have seats available, and so there's a certain return on investment, right? We have a building, we've got lights, we've got principal, we've got all the infrastructure, and so filling a seat and getting additional funding for that is a financially smart proposition. So school choice has benefited Hadley greatly in that respect.
To add to that, last year we had about 110 school choice students. This year it's 127. And last year we had about 494 students enrolled across the elementary and Hopkins, and now it's 525. So it's in large part due to an increase in school choice. So as I said earlier, I think we're a very attractive place to be. High quality academics, small town atmosphere, good student teacher to student ratio, high quality athletics. We often perform above our size regionally and statewide in athletics, and I think that's attractive. We're not in the papers talking about fiscal trouble here. As folks have mentioned, we're very fiscally responsible, and again, I think that stability is attractive to parents.
Hold on to that. You're up. Okay, we'll start this one with Paul. How do you feel about expanding affordable housing along Route 9 called Smart Growth Planning District, i.e. Hampshire Mall, for the reuse into housing?
Well, I assume this is related to then increase in students coming to schools. Absent the infrastructure points that folks like David Phil and others have made, I'm not as cognizant of those. I think what Humera said is right on, right? If we're increasing our attraction and families of all colors, shapes, sizes, economic status want to come to our school, Hadley's always been and should always be welcoming. I think that type of diversity is going to be fundamental for our future. So if there are more students who want to come, and I think recently folks had seen there was an influx of Haitian and immigrants that came from the state, were relocated here, and by all accounts, we're very welcomed by the school, by the schools, by the town, and I think that type of influx is good for our students to be exposed to folks from different cultures as well.
Thankfully, housing is not under the purview of the school committee. But what I will say is that we can manage to add more students in light of the fact that we have those seats available. So it would be a net addition in revenue by filling any of those seats and having those students. I personally have 3 kids that I love very much, and I would love for them to come back to Hadley and start a family here. I'd love for them to, I think about like these $500,000 homes, and I try to imagine how we can possibly find a place for them to live and start their own families. So I think this is a very important problem that we have to solve if we want our town to continue to attract young people and for them to have children and have our schools be vibrant and financially sound. I think we have to think about that perpetual engine and have a balance of the aging community, the middle-aged community, as well as the young people. And so I really want to crack that nut, and I'm very supportive of us figuring that out.
Do you want me to just wrap it up? Or? Okay. Well, what I will say, and I'll let Denise wrap up the evening, is I'd like to thank you all for allowing a guy from Hatfield to come over and moderate your event, and thank you to the Hadley Mothers Club, and most importantly, thank you. This is your community, and you came out to support it and support the candidates and listen to what they had to say. That right there is the most important thing. So thank you very much.
All right, so I'd like to just say a few words that we hope to see all of you this fall at our Hadley Mothers Club Holiday Fair. We're bringing it back. It's going to be on November 23rd between 9 and 3, and it'll be right here at Hopkins. I'd also like to thank everyone who made this night possible, the staff at Hopkins Academy for setting everything up, Alex and his staff at Hadley Media, Chief Mike Mason, and our police officer, thank you, and Scott Channel, our moderator, all the candidates that came tonight, we really appreciate that too. A reminder that voting is Tuesday, May 21st at the Senior Center from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. And also a reminder that Hadley Media will re-show this program multiple times on the public channel on Charter 192. And also on demand on Hadley Media YouTube channel. But we'd really